We'll be starting in about 10 seconds or so. Once we get the thumbs up from Ben Goodman, we have the thumbs up from Ben Goodman. Good evening, friends. I'd like to call to order the Board of Education meeting of May 13th, 2025. Standing as you are able, we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance, led by the inimitable Grace Oberski. Thank you, Grace. I told you it wouldn't be terribly hard. She asked us to say the two words, and the rest of you just chime right in. It's like you've heard it before, right? I'd like to pass over the microphone to Superintendent Lotch to recognize a few interesting folks this evening.
Okay, we're starting with the fabulous Grace Oberski, who is the Daughters of the American Revolution Good Citizen Award recipient. And we're going to start by telling you what that's all about. The DAR Good Citizens Award and Scholarship Contest, created in 1934, is intended to encourage and reward the qualities of good citizenship. The award recognizes and rewards high school seniors who possess the qualities of dependability, service, leadership, and patriotism in their home schools and communities. These students are selected by their teachers and peers because they demonstrate these qualities to an outstanding degree. And I've been working with Grace for quite a while now on the Foundation for Saline Area Schools, and I can assure you she is excellent at supporting all these skills and qualities. The program is only open to students whose schools are accredited and in good standing with their State Board of Education. Only one student per year may be honored as a school's DAR Good Citizen. U.S. citizenship is not required. Additional rules and guidelines can be obtained by contacting your local DAR chapter. So that's some of the requirements. Once a student is chosen as their school's DAR Good Citizen, the student is invited to participate in the scholarship portion of the program. It consists of a personal statement and essay. Participation in the scholarship program is optional. Scholarships are awarded to essay winners at the chapter, state, division, and national levels. So at this point, we'd like to welcome up Sharon, our DAR Good Citizens local chapter, who is going to present Grace with this prestigious award. And yep, step to the podium, and we're going to make sure the green light is on so that you all can present right there.
Is the green light on?
The push.
All right.
Okay.
You just soft spoken.
On behalf of the Sarah Caswell Angel Chapter of Daughters of the American Revolution,
It's not.
proud and happy to give this award.
Yeah, help her out.
Who's going to double check?
Okay. It looked like it was on.
Right.
Okay, so in case that didn't come through, I'm here representing the Sarah Caswell Angel Chapter of Daughters of the American Revolution, and we are very happy and pleased to present this award to Grace. She exemplifies all of the qualities of a good citizen, and she has a wonderful academic record, and her participation in sports and community activities is outstanding. So, Grace, on behalf of DAR, thank you very much.
Thank you. You guys have been amazing.
And we're going to have
We do want to do a picture with the
Yes.
board. We're going to do a lot of pictures today. Okay, so our board's going to head over
Okay.
here.
they say on TV. But wait, there's more.
Okay, next, we are here to honor the 2025 state champion Saline High School Boys Swim and Dive. The 2025 Saline Boys Swim and Dive team completed another very successful season representing Saline High School by winning the MHSAA Division I Swimming and Diving State Championship on March 13th. The Hornets, led by captains Jonah Bentley, Connor Luritzen, Nathaniel Sarment, and Diego Valdez, earned the program's 5th state championship, which is incredible. They continued the 16-year streak of finishing 6 or higher at the MHSAA finals. En route to this impressive accomplishment, several Hornets earned awards. The Michigan Interscholastic Swim Coaches Association All-State, Ty Luritzen, Connor Luritzen, Diego Valdez, and Jonah Bentley, Nathaniel Sarment, Carter Mitten, Isaac Adanen, and Braylon May. The National Interscholastic Swim Coaches Association All-American Awards, Ty Luritzen, Connor Luritzen, Diego Valdez, Jonah Bentley, Nathaniel Sarment, Carter Mitten, Isaac Adanen, and Braylon May. The MHSAA individual state champions, Diego Valdez won the 100 butterfly, and Isaac Adanen won the 200 IM and the 100 breaststroke. And the MISCA Swim Coach of the Year, the incredible Todd Brunty. The team achieved all this through hard work, dedication, a commitment to each other, and a long-standing expectation to represent their families, peers, district, and community to the best of their ability. Also of note, the boys swim and dive has a cumulative unweighted GPA of 3.7 and a weighted GPA of 3.9, which shows you their demonstration both in the classroom and the pool. I'd also like to recognize Connor, who will be swimming next year for Saginaw Valley State, and Diego, who will be swimming for Xavier University next year in college. Congratulations to this outstanding group of student athletes. You made us all very proud, and we're so thrilled to have Coach Brunty with us today as well. So let's give everyone a warm hand. And we're thrilled to have so many of you here today. What we'd like to do next is have the swimmers and divers line up going this way. We're going to start here at the podium, and we want each swimmer and diver to come up to the podium and tell us your name and then tell us what events you competed in. And then we want the coaches to follow at the end and introduce themselves. And then we're going to gather over here for a big group shot, which we're going to figure out how to fit everybody in. So if we can just literally have all the students come up, and let's just start by lining up there, and then let's kind of make the line going that way. We're getting good at these recognitions and knowing how to do it. And then so we'll make sure that the green light is on right there, and let's just start learning who you all are. Go right ahead.
Hello, my name is Nathaniel Sarment. I'm a senior captain for the 24-25 season. And at the state meet, I swam the 200 freestyle, the 100 freestyle. I also was in the relay of the 400 freestyle and the 200 freestyle. Thank you so much for having us.
All right, my name is Connor Luritzen, senior captain here for the 2024-2025 season. I swam 200 IM, 100 breast, and I was on the medley relay.
Hi, I'm Diego Valdez. I was also one of the senior captains. At the state meet, I swam the 200 IM, the 100 butterfly, and then I was also part of the medley relay and the 400 free relay.
My name is Jonah Bentley. I was also a senior captain, and at the state meet, I swam the 50 free, the 100 free, the 200 free relay, and the 400 free relay.
I'm Gabriel Romero. I'm a junior, and I swam the 100 free.
I'm Will Loveland. I was a senior, and I swam the 100 butterfly and 2 IM.
I'm Joseph Rosales. I'm a sophomore, and I competed in the 1 meter diving.
I'm Isaac Adan, and I'm a sophomore, and I competed in the 200 IM, 100 breast, 200 and 400 free relay.
I'm Tyler Ritson. I'm a sophomore. I completed in the 100 back, 5 free, and 2 medley relay.
I'm Jack Mallon. I'm a junior, and I competed in the 500 freestyle and the 100 fly.
I'm Jason Oyemba. I'm a sophomore, and I competed in the 100-yard fly.
I'm Carter Mitten. I'm a sophomore, and I competed in 1 meter diving.
I'm Braylon May. I'm a sophomore. I competed in the 100 and 200 freestyle and the 200 and 400 freestyle relay.
I'm Eli Zaksic. I'm a junior, and I competed in the 100 fly and the 2 IM.
I'm Caleb Summers. I'm a senior, and I swim the 100 breaststroke.
I'm Thomas Gunnarsson. I'm a junior, and I swim the 2 and 500 free.
I'm Donovan Darnell. I'm a sophomore, and I compete in the 1 meter diving.
I'm Carson Razak. I'm a freshman, and I compete in the 50 free and 100 fly.
I'm Kara Smith. I'm the dive coach, and I had the privilege and honor to be part of this great team and work with these awesome divers who qualified for state meet.
All right. Well, I'm Todd Brunty, head coach. Thank you for having us here tonight. Appreciate all the recognition from the board. It really means a lot, and I'm so proud of these guys. And I am the recipient of all their gifts that they give me, and I've been really happy. And I said a year ago, somewhere around a year ago, I told you we'd try and be back here and win one. I think it's time to say that again. Try and get back here again next year so we can do this again. So, thank you very much.
One more hand. Okay. Let's go right over there.
Dr. Lotch, is there more?
Yes, we have one more fabulous person to honor tonight, and that is Steve Vasiloff. I want to formally honor and recognize Steve Vasiloff, the Michigan High School Esports League Coach of the Year.
Thank you.
I have a few things to read here. So the Saline High School esports team had an incredible fall season, winning their first state championship in Mario Kart, as well as runner-up and top 4 finishes in Valorant, top 8 in Smash Brothers, and top 16 in Overwatch. This spring, the team began the season with a perfect record, and after 3 weeks, that earned them the #1 spot in the USA Today National Power 25 esports rankings. The spot was held through week 6. With the final team rankings for the season still being determined, although I think that's kind of progressing now, every team made a deep run in the playoffs this spring, and freshman Hunter Orr finished this first season as state runner-up in Madden. The team also had multiple All-State players this year, including Marco Matthews in Mario Kart, Dominic Matthews and Shepard Orwig in Valorant, Ben Burke twice in Smash Brothers, Anthony Williams and Braden Marion in Overwatch, and Owen Block in Rocket League. There are also many seniors, and I find this very impressive, continuing their esports career in college next year, with some earning scholarships. Mr. Vasilov worked hard to help get the esports program off the ground at Saline High School. He worked with our technology department to ensure more robust gaming computers in order for our students to compete at a very high level. He's been a tremendous motivator for our students and has brought them together to create one of the best esports teams in Michigan and beyond. In addition, I'd like to thank assistant coach Mr. Pickett and parent volunteer extraordinaire Stephanie Stahl, who've done an excellent job at supporting the students in so many ways. So here's to Mr. Vasilov, this year's MHSEL Esports Coach of the Year.
Thank you very much.
Now, you could say a few things here, but he's also going to present with the CAD program and tell a little bit about esports later.
Yeah, we're going to double dip, so
Right.
I'll do the esports. We'll speak to the CAD students.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vasilov. Well done. Wow. We got it all worked out. Photo ops are on the horizon. Thank you. Public comment time. Betty Yonke, are there any slips? There is no one lined up for public comment. I do have a response to previous public comment. In fact, I have a response to 140 comments that were made over the last 2 weeks as we were interviewing candidates for our next Saline Area School Superintendent. And so as I said, 140 comments came in electronically and on paper. And we also had, on the first night, about 937 views of the 6 candidates, the first 2 nights. And on the second round, we had well over 1,200 views from the community, taking this very seriously, as we took the job seriously as well, resulting in Dr. Rachel Kowalski, who will be coming here, we're hoping July 1st. She is very, very excited. I've been in touch with her. I've been watching her Facebook feed as well. We're Facebook friends now. And she is so excited. On the second day after we offered her the job pending contract negotiations, she already had her Saline t-shirt, sweatshirt. So she's very excited, and I'm looking forward for you all to get to know her. So thank you very much, members of the community who paid so much attention to the process. Revisions and approval of the agenda, please. Items can be added or deleted from the meeting agenda, or the order items changed at the request of an individual board member, and we need to approve it. Are there any recommended changes?
Thanks, Michael. I'd like to please approve the agenda as revised, adding item F, a recommended motion to approve the final draft of the superintendent contract for Dr. Rachel Kowalski.
Just want to make a note to that. And we have that in our emails, is that correct?
That's correct.
But it wasn't part of the packet, is that correct also?
Yeah, just to add a little definition, and thank you to Carol Diglio, who's been working with us a lot on this. We heard back from our lawyers this morning, so it was emailed this afternoon to the trustees who hadn't been able to see that final draft yet.
Thank you. All right then, motion to approve the agenda as revised.
So moved.
Is that Tim? Do we have a second?
I think I was the first, and then Tim was probably the second, if I made the motion to revise it.
All righty, we'll do it that way since you spoke on it. Just didn't press the go button. So all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Yes, we can have a discussion.
Okay. Unless there's some serious urgency to do it tonight, I did not get a chance to review it. I received the email today while I was at work,
Okay.
and I have not had time to look at it.
All right. Well, perhaps is there, during F, at least we can have a discussion about it and discuss throw out any clarifying questions? Thank you. I appreciate that. So does your vote still stand? Or no, we haven't voted yet. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Oh, hearing none. Thank you so much for that revision. I appreciate that. Thank you, Darcy Berwick, Secretary Berwick. We have a student showcase tonight. Now, both our student reps today texted me separately and were unable to introduce this group, so I'm going to let Mr. Steve Vasiloff do the introductions.
Well, thank you so much for having us. We've got the SWWC CAD class here, and we've got a lot of the students who competed in multiple different competitions, but most notably the Skills USA competitors. So we've got a little slideshow that I set up here to kind of talk about what occurred in the CAD program this year. And if you want to go ahead and take a look, so we did a number of competitions this year. The first one that we got involved in was the Automotive Society of Body Engineers competition, which is a new one for us. I had one student who got involved in it last year on his own and took the initiative to do that, Aiden Shays, and ended up finishing 6th in that competition. And he said, I had a great experience. We should all do this. So we all hopped on board and we competed in this. And we had 9 students place. So there's 2 different competitions. They give out awards through 8th place. And we had 9 students place in the top 8 in both categories. One of our champs was Micah Gray. So come on up here, Micah. There we go. And he did extremely well in that competition and earned some awards on that. And if I'm not mistaken, we've got Aiden Shays drawing up there that won some awards. They had to design either a hood scoop or they had to design a truck bed accessory that was going to hold things down. So as you can see, I've got kind of a write-up on there that I'm sure that you can take a look at. But if you want to go ahead and go to the next slide, I've got some pictures up there of the awards banquet and the list of all the winners that we have up there. I don't actually have your drawing up there. I couldn't find it. I'm trying to get that up there.
Right.
But regardless, that was a great thing. So with the 9 students that placed, I was awarded the ASBE Teacher of the Year, which I'm going to be honest with you, I did not know they awarded until I was at the banquet, which was very, very flattering. I might have dressed slightly nicer had I known that, but either way, I was very flattered to receive that award. So that was our first big competition of the year. Then next up is Skills USA. And so with Skills USA, that is probably the biggest one we do. That is a state and national level competition. I have to give a shout out to Jay Roberts of Les Bear because they actually became a sponsor for us. We've got a number of students standing here right now that actually complete drawings for Les Bear for their Taiwan division, so that if a part breaks, instead of having to order it from Les Bear and have it shipped over, they can actually manufacture the part themselves based on our student drawings. So the funds from Les Bear allowed us to take 10 students this year. So we had 6 compete in architectural drafting and 4 compete in technical drafting. And we swept both competitions, did extremely well. A little bit of history. I've been here 12 years now in Saline. That doesn't seem that long, but 12 years. We've been state champions 9 times in technical drafting, and we've been national champions twice in technical drafting. Just last year alone, Nate Yonek, come on up here, Nate, won a state championship in technical drafting and finished 3rd in the nation as a junior in technical drafting. In architectural drafting, we've been 7 times state champs, and for the last 4 years, we have been top 10 in architectural drafting as well. This summer, we'll have Abby Alexander, who's our state champion in technical drafting. So she'll be representing Michigan at Nationals in Atlanta. So we'll be heading out there at the end of June, as well as Izzy Seedlick, who couldn't make it here tonight. But those will be our 2 students representing our program there. But you can see all the students up there. They did really, really well. It's kind of amazing to be able to say to our students that even a student that placed 6th place, to be able to say, had your classmates not been there, you would have been a state champion. So when we go there and we sweep, it's a very flattering thing to be able to say that to my students, and it's really a testament to their hard work and buying into the program. If you want to go ahead and go to the next slide. What we have on here is actually, this is the drawing that had to be produced. So you can see the names of the students that placed 1st through 6th in the state. I believe there was 14 or 15 competitors in that competition. They had to design an ADA compliant duplex townhouse. And it had to adhere to zoning codes and be aesthetically pleasing and have an outdoor living space that was shared. So this is actually Izzy's drawings that won her a state championship. I believe she scored about a 95% on that. And as I said, she'll be representing Michigan this summer. And on the next slide, We actually have Abby's drawings right here, and like I said, Abby took first place in the state and will be representing Michigan at nationals as well. They had to create a set of drawings for a miter saw adjuster. So they actually have about maybe 5-6 hours to sit down and do all of these drawings so that these parts could be reproduced and manufactured. And it was extremely impressive to see the students. These 4 students that competed also competed last year. The order was a little bit different in finishes, but they are an extremely tight-knit group, but also extremely competitive. And to see them drive each other to that. I believe last year, the 4 students were separated by 2 percentage points out of a 1,000-point contest. And then this year is about 5%. But the consistency is really incredible by these students and what they're able to accomplish in a short amount of time. Then on to the next one. Then we just found this out, actually the students found this out today. We also do another competition called MITES. This is a project-based one that's built into my curriculum. Every student takes a part of it. I'm a huge fan of competition. I feel like our students are competing whether they like to compete or not, whether they know it or not. They're competing for college spots, they're competing for jobs, they're competing for everything, now and in the future. So with MITES, I have every student get involved. We actually turned in 180 different projects into over 40 different categories. And we get a plaque if we finish top 3 in the state in that category. And this year we broke our own record and we received 104 plaques. By mathematics, 25% of what we turn into this competition can't place. We typically turn in 4 things per category. Only 3 can get a plaque, so we eliminate a lot of stuff ourselves by defeating ourselves in the competition. But this year was really amazing. Our record before that was 85 plaques, so to beat that record was really amazing. We had 36 individual state champions, 35 runner-ups, 33 third places, and then we won 3 divisional awards, meaning that that was deemed the best project in that category across the board. So really, really incredible stuff, and all these students competed in that as well. So I think on the next page, I just have some pictures of the students. Some of them are standing right here, but these are some of their projects and the awards that they won. And if you go ahead and go to the next slide as well, I've got a couple more pictures. And you can see just some of the amazing work that they did. And then I added in a couple more slides just to give you a little bit better idea of the things they produce. So in architecture, it could be just about anything. It could be a topographical map. It could be an interior design board. It could be an interior rendering or an exterior rendering of a home, or a set of plans so a house could be constructed. On the next slide, you'll see that we have some of the technical drafting stuff. I had to highlight some of Jonah's stuff here because Jonah did an amazing job with the robotic arm and as well as the manifold exhaust. But we can do all kinds of different things from renderings to technical drawings so that parts can be manufactured. Yep, and we have students that are going to colleges all over the country, a lot of them on scholarship, which is great. In technical drafting, we have students that are going to Michigan Tech, University of Michigan, Michigan State, numerous other ones. Architecture is one that I really like to highlight. I feel like Saline has a love of Ann Arbor and a love of the University of Michigan. We actually had 3 students both last year and this year get into the Taubman College of Architecture and Urban Planning, which only allows about 60 kids per year into that program. So the idea that 3 students came from our program this year as well as last year really speaks highly to that. But not all students are actually headed there, because we found some really good opportunities at other universities like Cincinnati, Lawrence Tech, LSU. So we've got some really good opportunities for these students. But overall, it's incredible what this group has accomplished. I wish I could bring them all in, and I don't know if you noticed or not, but we've got about 70 CTE CAD students. So there are year-long students taking CAD classes. We have about 70 of them. Next year, we've got 3 full classes running, so it's some really exciting stuff and exciting times for my program. Round of applause for you guys.
Mr. Vasilov and team, the board may have a question or two. First, couple of my comments are, that's a lot of lumber, 104 plaques.
Yes,
Thank you.
it is. When I walk out, I typically have to have a cart. I take a cart. My wife actually had to take the cart this year, but it's very kind of her to collect those plaques for me because I actually had to go get the esports award, so I had to leave her there to pick up projects. But yes, it's a very exciting time. Very nice to count those plaques out and see how many we can get each year.
Fantastic. So,
do we want to do picture first with this group, and then you can talk about these?
Sure, absolutely.
We can do that.
well, sure. If the board does have any quick questions though of the team or the CAD group,
If anybody have any questions for the students? We love.
That's who I mean. Yeah.
Putting them on the spot.
Sure. I had the pleasure of substituting a few times in your classroom, and the energy that you create and the inspiration that you instill in these students is pretty amazing. You have some of the coolest kids. And I say that in the way that they're cool because they are excited to be there and they are excited about the work that they're doing. So it seems like you have a lot of repeats, that you've got kids coming back and back. Anyone want to say what it is that brings them back every year? It's an easy question, I promise.
I think CAD is the place where I found what I wanted to do in the future. Like I knew I always wanted to do engineering, right? But CAD is where I found really where my path was. But not only I found where my path was, but I found the confidence that I could follow that path too. And then also just like the friendships that you make. Like you go in there, you don't really know anyone, but you come out and you know so many people and all of that, and you're really close to them too.
Thank you. And I will add too that our art students in Saline are amazing. And I want to include the artwork that you all create, because Mr. Vasiloff was very kind enough to loan out some drawings for display in the library. Was that Abby's? The Millennium Falcon was amazing. So really great job.
Others? Great. Yeah, let's take a picture.
Take a picture of this group.
It's gonna feel so good just to like win after win after win and just put it all together in front of the board. Congratulations.
Thank you, appreciate it.
How's my hair?
One, two, three. Thank you.
I think that's me then doing the 2 laps.
To hear that.
Yep, I'm back up for esports to talk about the accomplishments of the esports team this year. I know you got a little info about that a little bit earlier, but really it's amazing to think that this is only our 2nd year competing. So we have 2 seasons per school year, and we just concluded our spring season this past week. And it was a really amazing run. So I've got a little breakdown, and Dr. Lotch gave a lot of that information right there. But what I think people don't really always grasp is how big esports has gotten in Michigan. And if you look, there are 203 high schools that are competing in Michigan currently. So you've got 203 schools, 848 teams, and then you have 3,777 students in the state of Michigan competing in esports currently. And we're one of the newer programs on the block, and it's been a really, really exciting thing to see these kids come together and learn sportsmanship and working as a team and leadership. I've said it before and I'll say it again, but I believe that the esports team is one of the most student-centered and student-led programs, because I can attribute my CAD teachings to these students' success. I cannot say that I made these esports students particularly better at the game that they play. I created an environment for them to get better in, but once again, I am not the person who taught them which button to click and when. That is not my role. My role is to basically put them in an environment where they can thrive and learn from each other. So if we go to the next slide, you can see that we won our first state championship in Mario Kart in the fall. So that's the Mario Kart team, and that was at Michigan State, which was really exciting to have that hosted there. Michigan State has one of the most amazing collegiate esports programs in the country. So it's a really widely known one, and they do extremely great things. If you go to the next, on Valorant, we were state runner-up and Final Four in that, so we had 2 different teams competing in that title. For 2 years in a row, those 2 teams had to face each other in the state semifinals, which is very, very interesting. So it was exciting to know that one team was going to make the finals, but always a bummer to know that one team wasn't. So it's a good spot to be in, though. On the next slide, you can see that we were top 8 in the state in Smash Brothers and top 8 in the state in Overwatch. And then if you look here, we actually had a new title this season where it was Marvel Rivals. Now, I'm still learning how that one works myself, but we ended up having 3 different teams competing in that. That was an Eastern region game, meaning that we competed in the Eastern time zone. Not just in the state of Michigan. It was a pilot year for that title. There was over 275 teams competing in that, and our teams all finished in the top 16, except for there's a rule you can only have 2 teams make the playoffs. So our other team was 6-2 record-wise and was unable to make the playoffs because of that rule. But we had an amazing run in that title as well, so we're looking forward to that to being a Michigan title next year, so we can hopefully win a state championship in that. And then in Rocket League, we were top 16. Now, I have to talk about this team because this was just a phenomenal one. These were 3 soccer players who came to me and they said, you know what? high school's wrapping up. We want to try something new. We want to try something different, and we want to form a Rocket League team. And I said, okay, are you guys any good at the game? They're like, yeah, we're pretty good. Well, they were ranked 3rd in the state going into the playoffs. They only lost 1 regular season match. Here's another really interesting tidbit is that Owen Block's in the middle right there. I got an email from Men's Health Magazine, and Owen Block is being featured in the top 25 in 25 high school graduates for athletics. So I thought it was really amazing that we had that opportunity to have that showcased, and that's actually going to be in the print and online version, so I'm really excited to get a copy of that when it comes out. But that's just one of those moments where you're having a conversation with someone that you never quite thought you'd have. And it was just amazing to see esports highlighted and spotlighted in that fashion. And then we have Hunter Orr, our freshman phenom, who walked in and said, can we do Madden? I noticed you don't have any Madden players, but could I play Madden for you? And I said, well, absolutely, we'll get you all set up. So every single day he brings his PlayStation 5 and he plugs it in and he practices with the team around him. And he went on an amazing run. He actually finished 2nd in the state, so state runner-up. But he had to face the returning state champion, #1 seed, and already declared player of the year in the semifinals and beat him. So it was just an amazing run to see this freshman come in and sit down and do that. He's a football player as well, so he plays football in the fall, and he'll play Madden in the spring for us. So just really, really exciting to have that connection, which has been great. Yep. And then as Dr. Lott said, we had numerous all-state honors, so some really amazing stuff. And then I put some information about the Men's Health Magazine article that'll be coming out soon. But really amazing to see that all-state honor for that many students. And then the part that I'm probably most proud of would be the idea that these students are continuing on with this into college. So we've had over $25,000 in scholarships offered this year. We didn't take every single offer that was offered, but it was really amazing. For Coach Pickett and I to be able to be with Ben Burke on signing day and have esports represented at signing day was really amazing. So he'll be playing Smash Brothers for Adrian College next year. Owen Block is going to has a closed tryout scheduled with Michigan State to play Rocket League for them. We've got numerous students going to Michigan Tech, and we already have some former students at Michigan Tech playing esports currently. And then we've gotten offers from LTU as well. So Lawrence Tech has a prominent esports program that we're hoping to send kids to in the future. As Dr. Lotch said, because of our great run, we were ranked 1st in the nation after 3 weeks. We maintained that spot after 6 weeks, and now we're just waiting for the final season rankings to come out. And if we hold on to that spot, that would be great, but I'm pretty content with where our team has gotten to already this season, and really amazing to read that article. I think I actually got a text message before I read that, and I was like, wait, what? And I looked and I felt a little bit of fear, to be honest with you, because to get to that level and try to maintain that is pretty daunting for us and for the kids. And because of the amazing run that the students have had this year, I received the MHSAL Coach of the Year award. And then I just want to give a little bit of a shout out to some people. First off, like the students. When esports first started, there was a stigma surrounding it. It's kind of that idea of like, well, what is this? Who's involved in this? Do I feel comfortable getting involved in this? And as time has gone on, it's really become this amazing, as I said, student-centered and student-led program that I could not be more proud of. I've got to give some thanks to Jason Pickett, my assistant coach, who does an amazing job with our students, especially over in our Nintendo room, we call it. We have 2 different rooms we run titles out of, and Coach Pickett works in the Nintendo room and is just phenomenal with those athletes. I want to give a shout out to Brian Puffer and Ashley Howes with Community Ed. They have helped me along the way since day one really get this thing up and running because we did not know how to categorize it. It's too big to be a club. It's not under the MHSAA yet, but it will be eventually. And until then, it's housed under Community Ed in our district, and they've done an amazing job helping me with that. Our entire tech team, so I'd like to thank Jay personally and Elijah Newton, who helps me out all the time. To get these titles up and running, to get through security stuff that you have to go through to get the titles to run. There's anti-cheat software. All these things that our computers are programmed to not play nicely with. So they've helped me greatly getting the ball rolling with that, and I am extremely appreciative of that. As well as to Stephanie Stahl and the parent squad, I call them. We do some outside tournaments that we go to, and these parents come just like you would in any other sport. They've got the tote bags full of snacks and food, and they settle in for the entire day to support our athletes and their students. I also want to thank Teresa and Steve for the support that they gave when we first came up with this idea to run this, as well as the school board, because it doesn't seem like that long ago. We were in, if I'm not mistaken, a Zoom meeting, and I was applying for a grant to really help kickstart this and getting up and running. So I appreciate your approval on that. We would not be standing here right now if that hadn't happened. So thank everybody for the support and know how much that we appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I appreciate that. We had in the early days, two of your students trying to explain to us old timers what Smash Brothers was all about. And those machines that you're using are not your grandpa's computer. That is for sure. Water cooled. And I said, stop, next. Do we have any questions from the crowd, from the board?
I have one quick.
Sure.
Darcy?
Of course, I have a question. Just a couple things.
Mm-hmm.
So my son started when you were first year, and I felt like at that time you had a lot of interest. I feel like visually for me when I walked in this year, maybe double the participation. Can you speak to how many kids you had from first to second year?
It varies by season, so we actually took a little bit of a dip in numbers. So what I noticed is we actually have a lot more students that are doing multi-titles. But last year, I think when it first came out, we had a lot of seniors who really expressed a lot of interest and said, I really want to try this. And I think that's kind of a theme we're noticing is we have seniors that get interested and they say, you know what, I think I'm going to give this a go, like we saw with the Rocket League team. So we've got a really strong senior class this year as well, really strong senior class last year, but really just to see the student involvement across the board, not just coming in and doing one title, but playing multiple titles. If you were to look through the pictures that I had in the slideshow, you'll see a lot of repeat faces in the different titles, and they're just truly amazing with each other and at the titles they play in.
Thank you, and thank you for all the work that you do to make it happen.
Thanks. All set?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Vassal.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. See you next year. We have a few action items ahead of us now. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the resolution designating someone as the representative of this board for the biennial election of the Board of Washtenaw Intermediate School District on Monday, June 2nd, 2025, and someone else as an alternate in the event that the designated representative is unable to attend. Could I have a motion, please?
Am I picking names?
Well, we're going to have a discussion about the names and fill those in after.
Then I'll make that motion.
Then the motion is made.
I can second it, Michael. Stebbin.
And Stebbin is seconding. So let's discuss this briefly. On June 2nd, 2 years ago, in fact, I was our representative, and Jennifer Miller was our alternate, and I actually needed the alternate to show up. I couldn't make it that night at the last minute. So I'm happy to go up and be our representative, but if you concur with that, that's great. And I am looking also for somebody else. So this is your chance, volunteers, just to step up and be the alternate.
I'm off on Mondays. I can do that. I can be the alternate.
Okay, thank you. The chance that you will be is slim to nil at this point. I'm quite ready to go up and anxious to be there. It's going to be an interesting election. So Lauren Gold is the one insert, and the first one is Michael McVeigh. And if there's no more discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you so much. So thank you very much, Lauren, for stepping up for that. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the Troon bond sale resolution dated May 6, 2025, for the sale of bonds at a total purchase price of $59,998,520.68.
So moved, Tizities.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Tim Austin, I believe. I don't know if there's a discussion. Any questions? No. Oh, Steve would like to add something. Dr. Lodge would like to add something.
Yeah, just thank Miranda for all her work with this. You would not believe how many people are involved in this. So I'm watching the flow back and forth with emails, and there are 20 different people involved. Like, this is a very complicated process, and somehow Miranda puts it all together and made it happen with an even better rate for the district. So she did a great job with this.
Great. Are there any questions for Miranda? No? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you. 7-0. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the updates made to policy 5540, interrogation of students, as requested by the district administration and submitted by the policy committee.
So moved, Gold.
Thank you.
Second, Berwick.
Thank you. Lauren, could you walk us through any of these changes? Is this technically the second reading then and final for this?
I think, as for those watching, we were updating the policy regarding when students are, I hate the word questioned, when CPS is involved with a student. And there's also separately mention of when the police have to be involved for other reasons. The part that we were most updating last time had to do with making sure that it was part of the policy that the principal or other designated guidance counselor be present during those interviews, except when expressly prohibited by CPS. I can answer questions. I don't know if.
Are there any questions? Well, it sounds like we're ready to put this to a vote then. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, great. Thank you very much. Ms. Yonke will send that up to Neola then, and I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the purchase of 500 Chromebooks through Trafera as submitted by Jay Grossman, Director of Technology. Trafera is an approved vendor on the REMSI Consortium bid contract. Just looking for a motion.
So move.
Thanks, Mr. Austin.
Should we have on there the amount?
Oh.
That
That was
motion?
missing. I have the amount right here. It's 164,500.
I think what Trustee Austin was saying is that typically in the motion we have the
Should
amount.
be part of.
Yeah, it should be part of that.
So Ms. Yonke will add the amount of 164,500 in the appropriate spot there. Yeah, that just was an oversight, I think, this time. Thank you very much for that call. Now, do we have a motion? Tim, still stand?
Yep.
Do we have a second?
Second, Tisdies.
Thank you very much. I think there might be some discussion for Jay and about this particular purchase. Or any questions from the board?
I just have one. What's the expected life cycle for these?
5 years.
Does that mean the current Chromebooks are at the end of the 5 years? The old ones are also 5 years? Or?
They're actually approaching 6.
Okay.
What do we, oh, sorry about that. What do we do with the Chromebooks after, 500 Chromebooks, could they go somewhere for somebody to use that?
They do.
Is, okay.
Yep. We don't throw them out. We have a recycling company that will take them from us, and then they usually give them to other school districts in need that can't afford their own, and help give them some Chromebooks that they can use. They'll go through them, make sure they give them the good ones, the ones that are swollen with batteries or batteries that don't work anymore. They'll discard or use for parts.
Okay, awesome. That's what I was hoping was happening with them.
We also keep some of them for ourselves because these things like the screens are interchangeable with the new models, so we'll keep a few on hand. Some of those that don't work and use them so we can do self-insurance and replacement parts.
Jay, I had reached out today because I guess I should have been, but was not aware that we have a one-to-one young 5s to 5th graders. They each have a Chromebook. Is that what I'm understanding with one-to-one?
Well, pre-K through 2nd grade is one-to-one on iPads, and then in 3rd grade we switch them over to Chromebooks. So 3 through 5, they have classroom sets of devices, and we have one device available per student per class, so they can all use one and not have to share.
And I guess before I voted for this, as somebody who's really, really, really intensely concerned about screens and young kids, I feel like this is my opportunity to really have an impact, or at least understand better why we need that many iPads and computers in school for young kids. And I'm not saying we don't. I just wasn't really aware that that was the situation, and I would personally like to have a better understanding beyond what we can maybe talk about tonight as to how, and I appreciate, it was late, me getting back to Kara, and I just haven't had a chance to review things, but I guess I would just like to have a better understanding of in what ways we have every student with an iPad. I'm just concerned about that. And I'm concerned about contributing to something with my vote that I see as problematic frankly. I would like to know more.
Sure. I asked Kara to come up here so she can explain more of the curriculum side of it.
Yes, and I just, to clarify for the board at large, I did share an email with Dr. Gold this morning regarding what our district journey has been related to our one-to-one devices. So we have been one-to-one for probably a decade by this point in time. And being one-to-one does not imply that the students are on a device all day long. They have access to the technology in the classroom because we, of course, in Saline, we believe in the power of technology and the opportunities that the technology can provide, while also balancing the importance of peer relationships, developmentally appropriate learning, them being fully present and not on devices because there's so many other important skills they have to learn. And so a decade ago, I will tell you, being a classroom teacher who myself, I was probably one of the first ones to bring cell phones into the classroom and try on and pilot and see what that looked like, and then be a one-to-one classroom and then a next-gen classroom, that evolution. The district has been following the research, and by the district, the teaching and learning team has been following the research around specifically screen time as relates to child development, and device time as relates to learning. So actually, a couple of years ago, we invited Dr. Jenny Radeski to speak to our families in the fall. That was at the recommendation of Trustee Gold, and she is an expert in this area. She came to speak to the families, and in that moment, it was October of 2023, I said to my team and to some of the administrators, I said, we need to explore this. We need to look more deeply into this research so that we can critically examine our own practices as relates to instructional technology in the classroom. For us, what does that look like? Dr. Radeski described it as what's on the plate, how healthier is you can put lots of food on a plate. It doesn't necessarily make it a complete meal. So we started investigating screen time, and we started investigating the types of digital licensing that we had and had access to. And so that journey has led us to this spring. We convened a collaborative group of teachers who wanted to have this conversation about what does it look like. We're starting with the earliest grades, young 5 through 3. What does it look like to be a student in 2025 in a classroom that we are still making sure has access to all of the technology and some of those opportunities that are avenues for equity, as well as productivity and creativity, and learning that because technology is a part of our world, while also ensuring that we still have access to all the other things that we know are so important for child development. So play, analog writing, pencil paper, coloring, recess, the things that children just need to be whole, healthy human beings. And so we met with that group of folks, and we have drafted internal technology use guidelines for our elementary staff. We did present this to them in August of 2024. We actually used a tool that Dr. Radeski brought to my attention. It's called the EdTech Triangle. We had asked them in August 2024 to think about what kind of technology and how much they were using technology in their classrooms back then, convened this group in the spring, and now we've drafted internal guidance that we are currently in the process of getting feedback on. So you haven't seen it yet even. I did share it and would be happy to share it with anybody here to get your feedback on it. And we plan to roll this out in 2025, and that is the intention of really, and I'd be happy to read a few of these things on here, really focusing on time for play, purposeful use of technology as a creative tool, rich opportunities for talk and discussion, hands-on learning and manipulatives with real games, read alouds and shared reading experiences, collaborative problem-solving projects. Those are aspirations for our K-3 learners, and technology should be complementing that, not be it. And so that's some teaching we have to do into this for the next couple of years, because it's a little bit of a shift in mindset from where we were a decade ago before we started following this research and really knowing. We didn't know. Well, we didn't know then. So that's where we're at with that journey. And it is important to note, we do have a number of opportunities for our students curricularly that don't involve technology, and many that do as well. So there's a nice balance there. And so having updated Chromebooks will go a really long way in supporting our teachers in the curriculum experiences they create for students. So I'm happy to answer any other questions too.
Dr. Lotch would like to add something.
Yeah, I just want to add that, last board meeting we heard an excellent MTSS presentation, and that is really dialed in on the importance of the core foundational skills, and that is not something where we're saying, okay, and we're going to do all that through a technology lens. It is really based on the importance of kids learning how to read and write. And therefore, to take it a step further, Jackie and myself are in classrooms every week. And if you ask me, well, how often when you're in we'll talk early elementary grades here, young 5s through 3rd grade, do you see that kids are on technology devices? It's less than 20% of any observations that we're having. And my point is, yes, it's needed as a tool, but in terms of magnitude, it's not that, elementary classes are sort of, kids just run and grab devices whenever they want to use it. Half the class is using computers at various times. It's not, it doesn't look like that. And I just want to assure you that it's a tool, it's needed, but we're very aware of the, social emotional development of our students, what social media is doing to some of our lags in social skills. And so to Kara's point, developing those guidelines over time has been very thoughtful, and understanding the appropriate balance and the development, appropriate nature of it, particularly at the elementary level.
Thanks.
I appreciate that. Other questions from, and did you have more, Dr. Gold? Probably.
I'm just still, sorry. It's not that I don't trust that people are going forward with best intentions, but in a situation where we're always talking about funding and I've never voted against any thing that has come up here for us to pay money toward for the students. I think about a salary of a parapro, or I'm just struggling with it. I'll just say that. And I understand that it's being used in best practices, but once the iPads are in a room, once Chromebooks are in a room, they get used. And I'm not saying that I don't think it's appropriate for our students to be on technology. I understand it's the 21st century. I just think most of them learn all the technology that they need on their own with an incredibly steep learning curve. And I want students to have what they need, but I'm just struggling to understand, if we're trying to back off on the technology, why we need to buy more of it. And I'm just a little uncomfortable with it, and especially when we're negotiating salaries with teachers, and it's a budgetary line. And I just know from my own, God, I promised I wasn't going to talk about my kids. I know from children I know who are past this age, that they come home seeing things on YouTube, which is banned from their computers. And I know that we try to do our best and everything, but they are very sneaky. Some people's children, I'm sure not everyone's. And we got really, I thought, telling input from a dad here in the district that I really appreciated, who found out somehow to track his child's screen use on non-school stuff while in school. And I consider it like a moral imperative to speak out. And not that I think anyone's being immoral. I know we all have best intentions, but sometimes people can have good intentions and not be doing the right thing. That's all I'll say.
If I could just speak to a couple of the things you said first. Yeah. Sorry. So, right, exactly. First off, this is not coming from the general fund, so it's not coming from any salary lines. This is coming from bond fund, which is not able to be used for salaries. So this is money that had already been pre-allocated or dedicated towards the replacement of devices. And secondly, it is just that we're not purchasing more technology for them. This is replacing existing technology in the classes. With the devices we have, they would be managed by us, and so they can only, speaking to how they get around things, which I do agree, they find ways to be sneaky and get around. Hopefully not in 3rd grade, but I do know that as they get older, they spend most of their time looking for that. These are managed devices, so we have, I want to say, complete control over what's allowed to be on them. They can't install apps, they can't install extensions unless we've already gone through and approved them. We've worked together as the ID and IT teams together to actually identify and reduce the number of extensions and apps that are allowed for these, to try and hone back exactly how much time is spent on this technology. So we're really trying to make a focus, especially in the upcoming years, of reducing that amount of screen time, but still providing the best experiences, because again, in 2025, there is the expectation that it's a digital world. There are digital curriculum, there are digital projects that students need to do in real time. that they can't do just on their own necessarily with pencil paper.
So for the parents who might be a little like me on this, Kara, can you just give me like one example of something our third graders would do on this, or kids around the third grade? I'm not trying to put you on the spot, like second, third, fourth grade in that age group, like one thing they would do on this Chromebook that I might be like, oh, that's so cool.
Can I give you an iPad example instead?
Okay.
Okay. So like I always think about this an incredible project that one of our Young Fives classrooms did, where they were looking at animal extinction in the biomes as part of their science curriculum, and just exploring the world around them. And so they created essentially advertisements, videos on their iPads to share about this animal that was going extinct, the animal of their choice, and created a project around that to share with their families. It's highlighting and bringing awareness to the extinction. So that would be an example of one. Yeah,
One that I was just informed of even today that they use is in third grade, I believe they do like a tour around Michigan. And so they make a digital tour that's going around visiting places in real time, getting those updates and trying to keep current as they're showcasing the state. And they do that on their Chromebooks.
And I'm sure there are many other examples as well. Jennifer?
Brad, you had your hand up probably before me. Did that answer your question? Okay, all right, perfect. Okay. Thank you for saying that. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for saying that, because I was also curious. I am also cognizant that we're in collective bargaining with our SEA right now. And so I'm being mindful of spend. So thank you for talking about that. I also share, I love technology, but I also share, particularly at this age, the real reinforcement of traditional play and getting kids outside, doing makerspace, doing things in the classroom. So I appreciate Lauren bringing that up, because it's incredibly important when paired with next gen, we used to call it, I guess. Yes. It's not really next gen, it's our gen, but so thank you for talking about where the money's coming from.
And I do want to make sure to elevate the teachers' voices in this and the practitioners that they are, because we're having these collaborative conversations, because we're constantly striving for continuous improvement. And that doesn't mean continuously like keeping up with the Joneses and technology and the fastest, newest thing that's coming out, being really thoughtful and intentional and purposeful about how we're using technology, and the professionals that our teachers are, the structures and routines they create in their classrooms. As Steve said, it's not like whenever I'm in a classroom and technology is being used, it's being used in a really purposeful, meaningful way. And I really respect the fact that we work collaboratively and the teachers work at their grade levels to continue to create great experiences in balance with all the other things that we know are so important for development. And they're continuing to be on this journey of thought with us, because the research is changing pretty quickly. And it certainly is, if you've been here for a long time, it's different than it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And I'm proud of our district for continuing to take on some of these challenging conversations. And in this case, being very willing and vulnerable to walk back perhaps some of the things that we've done in the past. So just speaking to the responsibility and respect that we have for technology and the importance of the environments we're creating for our students, that we're always minding that and looking to be better.
I really appreciate all of that, and I don't want you to take this or the teachers to take it as any kind of, it's just something I'm really watching.
It's on our minds too. So,
Dr. Gold, I don't know if I'm out of line, but I'm sure if you would ever want to visit and see what the classes are doing with the devices, anyone here, like you're always welcome to come in. We can set that up. You can see some of the projects they're doing with this technology to make good use of it, or the balance between screen time and non-screen time.
Thank you. Unless there's more from the group, I'd like to put this to a vote. So all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
6-1. Thank you. Thank you. And I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the purchase of 150 Mac mini computers with wired keyboards and monitors to replace the current devices in use in the iMac labs at Saline High School, Middle School, and Liberty in the amount of $140,092.50, as submitted by Jay Grossman, Director of Technology. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Tizides.
Thank you.
Support Stebbin.
Jay Stebbin, thank you very much. Jay, what can you tell us about these machines?
Same sort of deal. These are 2019 machines, so they are finishing up their 6th year. They are no longer supported for security updates. These are lab devices that are used by students in middle school classes, high school, and Liberty, where we have Mac labs. What we're actually looking at doing this time, again, using bond dollars, that we are going to be replacing the iMacs that we've been using, which is an all-in-one computer. And this time I'm actually going to replace them with Mac mini computers, monitors, keyboards. The intention of this is going to be that the keyboard and the monitors are going to be more sustainable and stay with it past the 5-year time frame of the computer. So when it actually comes time to replace this again in the next cycle, that will be spending even less to replace this. Also at this time, the Mac mini computer is less expensive, not only less expensive than the iMacs, but it's actually more powerful now. So it's going to give the students a faster, more reliable device. With the iMacs that we had purchased in 2019, we've noticed some storage issues, some performance issues. So these are going to correct and replace those while also keeping up with security updates so the students can use them. Mostly like in our CAD labs, our video production where they need high quality, high resolution devices that these computers are really well known for.
Any questions from the board? Great. Well, hearing none, let's put this to a vote, please. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing no opposition, 7-0. Thank you very much, Mr. Grossman and
Thank you.
company. Now we're on to the additional item F, approval of the draft, and it's going to take me a few seconds to dig up the copy of the contract, but if you want to lead us off then, Vice President Stebbin, go ahead.
Sure. So I'll make the motion to open up the conversation. The motion just for Betty, because you're probably recording this. Recommended motion to approve the final draft of the superintendent contract for Dr. Rachel Kowalski.
And did you make the motion, right? Do we have a support?
I'll second the motion for discussion only.
Of course. It's one motion to approve, to enter into a discussion on the draft of the contract for Rachel Kowalski. We won't, if there's another motion, it's to approve. I'm not sure it's going to be tonight, but it might be. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I was putting it on under an action item if the board has consensus to move forward, but to open up a discussion and have clarifying questions on the contract that was emailed around this afternoon.
I will start the discussion. I will start by apologizing to the board and to the compensation committee for not more appropriately reviewing the contract. My assumption upon my initial cursory review of the contract was that our attorney was going to create a contract, and I have significant concerns with this contract. The substance of which is fine, the structure of which is not structured as a contract. There are no definitions in the contract. We do not define employer, we do not define employee, we do not define board, we do not define the titles on the board, we do not define board policy. We don't enumerate the sections, even though there's 2 parts of the contract that refer to enumerated parts of the contract. The contract written is not at all a signable contract. It needs to be structured as a contract. We need to have whereas statements, we need to have a list of definitions, and none of that is contained in this contract.
Okay, I can take some of that. So this is the same contract that we reviewed in compensation committee a few weeks ago. It's based on Steve's current contract, which was executed by the board when he joined us as superintendent roughly 4 years ago. We had reviewed in the compensation committee several other schools to look for best practices or things that we may not want to include at that time. Since then, I think some of us have read other contracts, looking into other language that we might want to use. Carol had described this today as a robust contract, and it is the one that was executed, and it was the one that went to the attorneys today. And it was Troon that it went to the attorneys. So I hear what Jason's saying with regards to definitions, and we can look to restructure. It would have been nice to have the comments in the compensation committee.
Well, I apologize for that. I had assumed, and it's my mistake, and in the compensation committee, I even said this is my first go around with a superintendent contract.
Yeah.
I am more used to government contracts or executive level contracts, which are structured slightly differently.
Okay, true.
But to get to my point, in the education reimbursement section that is all bulleted, which by the way, they're all the same bullets. They're not even sub bullets. They are tabbed bullets, but they're not sub bullets. It refers to number 1. There is no number 1 in that section. That's where I have a problem, because that clause would not be enforceable. So where the substance of the contract itself, I don't have a problem with. It's how it's structured. For example, the reference to the board appears 39 times, of which 25 is just board, and then 14 are Board of Education and various titles referred to as the board, but doesn't it define what the board is? Employer is not,
That's a fair point that you're saying for definitions.
for definition purposes.
So if you saw something like throughout the contract references to board mean the Board of Education.
It should be defined that board means Board of Education.
Called up front, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Then for the employer, it refers to employer and refers to Saline area schools and Saline School District. We need to define that. It needs to only be referred to as employer from that point forward. So capitalized terms within the contract needs to be defined.
Did you also notice that there was also administrator, and at other points it said employee? And that's
and superintendent, and
Correct.
there's a number. That's why I'm saying when a contract uses multiple different versions of a term that is supposed to mean the same thing, when they are listed separately and capitalized, they are intended to be viewed as separate entities within the contract. So we need to define that.
Okay, so if I may, I'm looking at one of the copies that we also reviewed in compensation committee. I'm looking at Dexter Community Schools contract. So an example of what I'm hearing from Jason is, it is, for example, it opens, it is hereby agreed by and between the Board of Education of Dexter Community Schools, hereinafter board, et cetera, and then follow
Correct.
that language through, and insert the individual's name, hereinafter superintendent. And so it models district, school district, et cetera. And so you're looking
Correct.
for those to be specifically
Right.
called out. This particular contract with Dexter does that. Not all of them do that we reviewed. So it's a little hit and miss.
I don't disagree. I'm
Right.
just saying that we should follow proper contract formatting.
Yeah, I think that's-
I don't disagree that other school districts don't do it correctly. I'm just saying that we
for
should
sure.
do it correctly.
And if we can, so totally noted. And if we can back up a little, because I did want to address Darcy's comment earlier, which I totally recognize. We had been going back and forth for about a week. We got the note that it had been through legal this morning, which is why the call and the email, and today is definitely a work day. From what I understand, and Michael, you can perhaps elaborate on this, I believe that our candidate might be looking for a signed contract so they can begin their process on the other end with respect to what happens next in that school district. So I think there is a little bit of a time thing. Also acknowledge what Jason's saying about structure and about definition. But I wanted to just come back to Darcy's comment from earlier.
The term is, there was some anxiety, but the Carol Diglio, I believe, phoned her this morning, and just to reassure her that we were diligently working away on the contract and not delaying at all, and I think that was one of the issues. Under that whole education reimbursement section, I note that there were several changes made since I first looked at it. I had highlighted the entire section, probably like you did, Jason, and just said, yikes. Sometimes they refer to administrators and general policies, and then it's very superintendent specific in other parts. So it really needs a fine-tooth comb through it. And I know Carol's been working hard based on the former or the old contract. But your points are quite valid, Jason, that you had made earlier.
And before Brad goes, I just did want to have the opportunity also, maybe after Brad speaks, to go over what some of the changes are, since Steve's contract is the basis of this. So as we're reading and continuing to discuss and draft, just calling attention to several things that are a little bit different. But Brad, go ahead.
The biggest thing I guess I would say is that, yeah, I agree. Like, I like the idea of clearly stated definitions. I think it's good insight. It's good that all 7 of us are here because we see different things. So thank you for pointing that out. The only thing that I would say to the effect of Darcy's point, and I'm more than happy to give the time, is I also want to be able to provide the best onboarding process for our new superintendent. And so as long, and I know Steve's going to be a part of that, and I want to realize his expertise for as long as possible. So my point is this: I just would like Steve's thoughts as to, if we did not approve this until the 27th, right, 2 weeks from tonight, does that still provide you and her with enough time to properly onboard her and all of that? Or should we be looking to call a special meeting to approve her contract?
Just a point of order. I don't think Steve really should have anything to do. It's got nothing to do with him at this point. Although the onboarding is something that we are responsible for.
I'm starting the onboarding regardless of his
Yeah.
contract.
He's starting the onboarding. So a quick clarifying question.
Because I was of the belief that he could not begin until we had some legal parameters about, like, her and being employed here. So I'm fine with that. Like, I think it's great. It's for the record, like, I hear you that we on board, but he's a great superintendent, and he's gonna want this school district to be in the best place possible when he leaves, right? So that's what I mean by my comment.
Quick clarifying question. Are you speaking as treasurer, or who are the members of the compensation committee for people watching tonight? I'll ask Jennifer that.
That would be me, Jason, and Brad.
Okay, thank you. So that's the meetings that you were referring to regarding that. Another point I'd like to make is that it is possible, with all this discussion, that we could still have a vote before 2 weeks from tonight. If we called within the proper calling of a meeting, have an emergency meeting. And it's not a problem with me at all. And even if some of us could not make it, we only need 4 of us to make the decision safely and wisely before we get. Just so you know, it's possible. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the gist of what I was getting at, just so that we don't take away from that transition piece.
Right, exactly, and I like hearing what I heard earlier about just reassuring things are moving along. We have the absolute same intent that we had when we were at our board table the last time. Things just move a little bit slower sometimes. So, but if I could just call out a few things to pay attention to in the contract, I think that would be helpful, that we're different from Steve's. The term of this agreement is a 3-year contract, so that is a change from 5-year, from what we understand, and looking at other contracts, legal, talking with Carol. Right now, that is the standard, a 3-year contract. Moving down here, we also increased under reimbursement of expenses, travel, conference attendance, and professional dues. On the third bullet, it went up from $750 annually to $2,000 annually, just based on how much conferences cost and what is happening in the market right now, and that is in line with other superintendent contracts as well. I had made the mention, and it didn't make it to this version, but on the last bullet in reimbursement also, I had suggested that we take out the reference to her family, because we are employing Dr. Kowalski, and so we would love to have her family at events as they choose, but doesn't necessarily need to be in the contract. So I had called for that to come out, so that would be an edit. You'll see under education reimbursement in the next section, the last bullet, beginning with for the first year of the superintendency. This support is something that was put in to, there was a lot of feedback about wondering, we're going from a school district X number of students to a school district of just under 5,000, despite having, some very large school district experience in the past. And I believe this was a little bit of a missed opportunity with Steve as well. I know that I had like a monthly coaching thing, and I don't know if we really took advantage of that, but I think having wraparound supports for someone entering our school district is a very, very good thing to do. And this can be in alignment with the cost that we have here in the contract and with discussion with us, not necessarily using services that are used within the district and other areas. This can be something separate to have executive leadership coaching and also consultancy around being a superintendent that could come. We don't want to be too prescriptive. That could come in the way of former superintendent support. It could come in the form of one-on-one coaching, which would be a confidential support. But in today's age, this is very standard when you have a leader of an organization, or it's a little bit more corporate. But I think it's a very good best practice to support her in coming into this district. I did want to call out that we left the doctoral degree stipend. I think all of our offerings around continued professional development and the like really support the lifelong learning purpose that we have here in Saline area schools. You'll see that the superintendent's salary schedule has been integrated. This was something that Steve had to have as an addendum on his last contract because of the changes within the state for how superintendents are evaluated through the superintendent tool. So the normal salary increases section, which discusses superintendent evaluation ratings, has been taken out because it's just not happening in the state of Michigan. They've moved on. So that's why that section looks a little bit different. The vacation and holidays is now 25 instead of 20, so that's in line with the rest of the cabinet. So there's parity there. And I think that was it as far as changes off of his contract.
I drew attention to a few spelling errors, and I think we're down to one.
I found two, but yeah.
Oh, okay, good. Under evaluation, the its successor provision shouldn't have an apostrophe. Its is just ITS.
Then there's three.
Oh, good. Well, if you find them, correct them. We'll call those Scrivener's errors.
There's been a lot of back and forth.
Great. So this was a vote as to whether we were going to go into a discussion, and it sounds like we've just gone into the discussion. Are we leaving it at that for now? There's still a lot more work to be done in this contract, correct?
So I think what I would recommend is we could revise the motion that I made that Jason seconded to incorporate some of the additions around definition and structure, as well as 3 Scrivener's errors that we found, and the deletion of the word family from that one section. And then bring this back potentially with the special meeting. My preference would be if we kind of get it looking a little bit like we want, a little bit more. My preference would be to do a special meeting because I would not want to hold anything up. I don't think I don't think that we necessarily have to wait until the next board meeting. I think that this work can be done very quickly, knowing that legal is okay with what we have here for right now.
I am prepared. What?
I was going to say, I will volunteer to reformat it so we don't have to go to Troon. I mean, if this is language that they've already approved, it can be, but
I think that's
if Troon was acceptable with how it's defined here, I certainly can't do worse than that. So I would be more than happy to.
Well, I think we could do better though. So
yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. Based on what I heard, and your points were well made. I am prepared as the board president to call in a special meeting with proper amount of warning. So we'll keep you all posted. Keep the community posted too. Right. Was it the
Yeah.
edge of a question? Oh, sorry, yes.
No, more of a preference, I guess, that this felt like a surprise to me coming into this meeting, and I'm hoping moving forward that unless there's something that needs to be done fairly expediently, that we are allowed time to read and process the materials that we are voting on, because I want to make sure that I'm doing the job with fidelity, and I was not given an opportunity to read the contract today. I hope that I would be as diligent as Jason was on his points, and I can see just from this discussion how hard the three of you worked on getting it to this point. But there needs to be some sort of equity and time given when we're making such large decisions moving forward.
Absolutely. I was prepared to hear questions about it, but certainly not to vote on it tonight. I didn't realize people hadn't seen it outside of the four of us, so thank you. Any other, oh, yes.
So the lawyers would have the final read through, just because I think it could, even if you just change formatting, just from, I think like the lawyers should bless it.
And hers as well.
Yeah.
I understand from Carol that the lawyers have reviewed the parts that could be called into question from a legislative perspective. But so I think we're okay with formatting going forward. But if Carol has any nervousness about it, we will certainly ask our lawyers to take a peek at it again. Great. So are we moving on then? Have we landed this plane?
I think we have, but we should probably, I should recommend a change to the motion as written, because it was written as a vote.
Change away.
Yep, so we'll change it to recommended motion. Or we could add, how about we add it as a discussion item, as our first discussion item, instead of an action item, because it's not an action item.
So
You can just add it to the end, and we can say that we
the
already did it.
motion is
Yeah.
to move this whole conversation
To item
discussion
C,
item.
yeah.
Oh, C, okay.
No,
A.
unless you want to. No, but we can just say ask it and answer it, and it becomes a discussion item versus changing a motion since there's no vote.
That's fine. All in favor, please say aye. Oh, Jason, are you backing that one up?
I will, yes, I will second the amended.
Reaffirming your support.
I'm reaffirming my support for modifying it to a discussion item.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Whew. Thank you. And Monica. We have we're going on to the one important scheduled report for the evening on special education, the annual update.
Right, exactly. Well, good evening. Thank you for giving us some time today to talk about special education from this year.
Jay is going to add, or sorry, Ben and everyone at the board table is going to say, kiss the mic.
Perfect.
Thank you.
As I was sitting here thinking about last year at this time, it's been 1 year since I came before you and met everybody at the board meeting where it was announced that I had been offered and accepted the role. So I just wanted to say thank you for such an incredible year. I'm honored to work with such a talented, dedicated, committed team across the whole district, as well as our core team, and to co-lead such an amazing department with this amazing human being Monica. I have learned so much from her this year, and I just really appreciate all the ways that you've supported me. So with that.
And she is not a newcomer anymore, so every meeting she goes into, she can't say that she is the newbie.
Not anymore, she
Not
won't
anymore.
let me. All right, so we have a short presentation for you. Mr. McVeigh asked me to trim it down.
Gave you 2 watchwords. What were they?
Short and sweet.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. So our special ed department, our mission and vision is that we are dedicated to providing all students, including those with disabilities, equitable access to education individualized support, and meaningful opportunities for social connection. We embrace diversity and foster collaboration and are committed to preparing every student for success, not only in school, but in life.
So this is our mission that was actually written in 2000, so we're approaching 25 years here, and I've seen all 25 of those years, so when I read the mission, it really still holds true today. And I think the effort that our teams put into this, the stakeholders that we involve, it's more than just one person, but our primary goal is always to have the students be as independent as possible. And I think the last line is very telling because every student's journey is different, and we prepare them and support them in the best way we can so that they can get to that journey.
So the next part of our presentation is to talk about our programs and services. So special education is a very large department. There are lots of things that we do for and with students. And so I'm going to speak first about our programs. And I'm not certain, I just want to make sure everybody is aware of what each of these program terms mean. So we have teacher consultants in our district, and they provide support to the teachers and the staff by bringing expertise and coaching and strategies to improve instruction. So they're actually working with the adults to help them hone their skills and work through differentiation and accommodations to meet the students' needs. We also have resource room programming, and these folks provide specialized instruction either in a pull-out model or a push-in model. So either they bring kiddos to their classroom to provide services, or they push into general ed classrooms to provide services. And these services look like helping them develop skills in areas such as reading, math, writing, possibly executive functioning. There's a lot of things that they do, but these are just some examples of that. We also have life skills programming in our district, and this focus is to provide specialized instruction for students in the areas of essential daily living skills, in social and vocational skills, and we're working to promote independence for these students in the school, in the home, and in the community settings. You are also aware that we have early childhood special ed programs as well as young adult. So for the early childhood programs, we support some of our youngest learners, ages 3 through 5, and we provide them with instruction in areas of communication, motor skills, physical therapy, speech language therapy, social emotional development, and foundational early learning skills to help them as they transition into kindergarten. For our young adult programming, we focus on students that are ages 18 to 26. Michigan is one of the only states that it is actually the only state that provides education to 26 instead of 21 or 22. And we support these students to develop independent living skills, employment skills, and community participation as they transition into their adulthood.
So to get all of these programs in place and services in place, it takes a really large team. And you can see here, this is a very integrated team approach. We have speech and language pathologists, occupational therapists, social workers, physical therapists, school psychologists, and this last area, the board certified behavior analyst and registered behavior technician. So as our students are coming to us with greater needs, especially in behavior and social emotional wellness, this has been an area that we've really had to increase, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But the goal is always to have an integrated approach so that the student can be addressed and the whole child can be programmed and serviced in the appropriate way for their needs.
So some of our successes this year, we just wanted to highlight a little bit as we're giving you some information. We have a very strong peer-to-peer program here in this district. It's the strongest one that I've ever seen in my 20 plus years of working in special education. We have our connecting program at the high school, we have STAR at Heritage, and we have our PALS program at Saline Middle School. Through the connecting program and through just the hard work of the classroom teachers and staff, we have a lot of social opportunity that's built into the special ed programming. We have things like bowling events and lunch groups, and this really helps foster inclusion for our students and friendship and social growth, both for students with disabilities and for students without. Amazing unified sports program here. I actually went to a conference and I met with some folks from Unified Sports that were from all over the country. And when I said I was from Saline, everyone lit up and talked about this program. So we are really lucky, and we have some amazingly dedicated professionals at the high school that lift up Unified Sports, do all the work around programming for it and scheduling for it. This year, we partnered with Dexter and Mylan, and we were able to run different events in basketball and track, as well as we had a very, very exciting time at Little Caesars Arena, where all the kids got to play on the court with refs, like NBA refs. It was very, very cool. It was exciting for everyone.
And this slide goes over our team. So again, we talked a little bit about the integrated approach, but these are the numbers that we have. So we have approximately 232 staff members in all different areas. So one of the largest groups is our paraprofessionals, and we could not do this job each and every day without them. They know the students very well. They are very intuitive. They respond to their needs. They provide personal care. I just can't say enough about them. And in terms of being a part of the team, they are just as important as any of the certified staff on the team. So we have resource room teachers, we have teachers consultants. I won't go over every single number, but we are growing in the needs of our students as they come to us. We have some very littles that have some pretty complex medical needs that we are really going to have to look at over the next couple of years on how to best service them, and you know, what do those needs look like in the classroom, and how can we be very responsive to those needs. As I said, the staff is growing, and Julie and I have a very busy couple weeks ahead of us in terms of hiring, and we have a lot of hiring to do.
So our next slide, I just wanted to highlight so that folks can have kind of an understanding of the student demographics for our littles that are eligible under special education. So we currently have 895 students that qualify for special education, either programming and or services in Saline. And so there are 13 eligibilities in the state of Michigan under which a student can qualify. Our students represent 12 of those eligibilities currently. And as you can see, I've broken it down by kind of grade level, program level, and I don't expect that you can probably see exactly the numbers, but I thought I would just walk through them a little bit. For our students that qualify under autism spectrum disorder, we have 152 students in the district. Under cognitive impairment, we have 45. Under an emotional impairment, there's 47. Deaf and hard of hearing, we have 14 young people in the district. For otherwise health impaired, which includes kind of an umbrella of medical diagnosis that those disabilities are impacting a student's ability to access gen ed, we have 238 students in the district. Under physical impairments, there are 4. Under severe multiple impairments, there are 10 students that we service. For specific learning disabilities, it's 171 students. For speech and language impairments, it's 193. And you can see when you look at speech and language that a big portion of the students that receive services and programs are K-5. Speech and language is one of those areas where oftentimes kiddos will grow out of and or be able to take the skills that they've learned around articulation and incorporate them, and it kind of lifts the barriers. So we find less students that are qualified in older grades. Under traumatic brain injury, we have 3 students in the districts that receive services. and visual impairment is 5. So again, we have a lot of students that receive services, and we're super proud that we're able to keep our students in our district and service them in place with their peers. So.
We are also very fortunate to have the SEAC committee, so that is our Special Education Advisory Committee. You can see we have representation from almost every building, and we have a very robust group right now, and they're doing some really amazing things. They're connecting families outside of just typical meetings that Julie or I would be at. For example, they're doing some playground get-togethers. They did a activity at the bowling alley for our older students. So we have a really dynamic, I think, parent group right now. They provide us insights about, what are parents going through, what kind of needs do they have. They've suggested things like mentoring, and they've given us some really good ideas to think about. So we meet once a month, and again, they've been a very valuable group for us to partner with.
Some of the ways that we wanted to highlight around our work with parents and community engagement. So again, like Monica said, we partner with the SEAC. We collaborate with parent representatives. We have offered parent trainings and providing education around special education. We created like a process guide for parents to understand the IEP process this year. We work with community partners like Michigan Rehab Services that help support some of our older students with receiving pre-vocational skills training and then moving into jobs and employment, and they coach and model and mentor and support. We work with CMH. Our students are for job skills. A lot of our students are out in the communities. We have community partnerships around work for them. So we're very, very blessed around the amount of engagement we have both with parents and the community.
So the next two slides are some budget issues and the allocation of resources. In terms of our revenue, we receive most of our funds from that intermediate county tax. So we've been very fortunate in Washtenaw County to have a millage that has passed, and it's, again, very robust. So in that area, that's our local funds. We also have some state funding, which makes up about 30% of our revenue sources. About 30% of special ed costs are reimbursed in that group, and about 70% of our transportation. And then we have that small piece of federal funds that come in, about 9%, and that is just a little bit smaller and not something that obviously the rest of the pie is really the robust part of where we get our funds and revenue. In terms of expenses, as many budgets are, the salary and the benefits are a big portion of our expenses. But we do also have some purchase services, things like some contracts, maybe some transportation for students that we cannot, for whatever reason, provide transportation. Sometimes we've had to use cabs or alternate transportation services. That doesn't happen often, but that's an example of purchase services. There's been some instances where we've had to hire contracts because we just haven't had the employees come in, and we really need to provide the services because obviously that is obligated services, right? IDA is federal law, so we have to provide those services. So sometimes we've looked in those areas. And then the rest are materials and other kinds of supplies that we need to use in the classroom and use to support our programs.
So for our last slide, we just wanted to talk a little bit about our future plans and goals. And we spoke a little bit about staffing earlier. We have had, some needs towards the end of the year, really looking at our caseloads and determining how best to support students. So in pretty much all of our ancillary support groups, we are hiring one additional staff. So that is another speech and language person, social work, BCBA, I guess not in PT. Right now we still contract PT, but there's been some exciting things that Monica and I have explored with Miranda and Carol and the SEA representation. And one of those things is that previously we contracted all 6 of our occupational therapists from an outside company. And in looking at equity and thinking about, them partnering right next to our SAS employees, we really started to think about how we could bring them into our contract. So that's been kind of a bigger body of work that we have taken on this last winter and into spring. And so we are at the point now where we have been able to post all 6 positions under the SEA contract, and we're working on interviewing. And the folks that were contracted before are very interested in working in the district and being part of our district. So we're moving through that. And then one of the other really exciting programs that we've been working on for quite some time now with our BCBAs and just recently with our ESP union representation and Miranda and Core and Carol is what we're calling our Grow Our Own Registered Behavior Technician program. So RBTs, Registered Behavior Technicians, help support students that have some pretty sometimes complex behavioral needs, and they have complex positive behavior support plans. And so those folks receive training and become nationally certified as RBTs. And they are trained in applied behavior analysis and understanding how to not only implement the plan, but to collect the data for efficacy. So we're super excited about this. We're getting ready to think about how to create an application process and all of that, so that this summer, hopefully, we would like to invite 10 paraprofessionals, current district employees, to grow their skills in this area and participate in a 40-hour training over the summer that we fund and support them. And then they'll sit for their exams, and then they'll be supervised by the BCBAs. And then moving forward, our BCBAs are very interested in creating our own training program. So that would mean that we would eliminate the cost associated with actually getting the certification, and it would be held within our district. And we might be able to provide it to other districts too, and the locals. So we're super excited about that. So we have staffing. We're continuing with staff training, looking at IEP compliance and working on our FBA and positive behavior support plan training for next year, continuing with curriculum instruction and assessment training and social emotional learning. We continue to find ways to partner with the families and with our community. We're really working on some systems-wide processes by developing committees to look at how to make all of our processes around special ed, which there is a lot, very visible and systematic. And then when we can combine all these things and offer this kind of support, this is where we see the big payoff in student achievement. So that's constantly what we're focused on is the kids. So thank you for your time. Do you want to add anything, Monica? No. Yeah, you're good.
Thank you. Dr. Lutz just have a quick thing to add, and I know I have a question, and perhaps others on the board table have a few questions too.
Yeah, I just wanted to say how Julie and Monica are just doing an excellent job diving into this year, which, I've been in the district a long time, and I've never seen so many not issues, but challenges. They've had to come in and deal with a number of compliance issues, the need to accelerate professional development with our staff, more behavioral challenges with our students than ever before, the ability to dive into the unified sports realm, hiring issues of keeping enough paraeducators in the district, and they've really been doing a good job in a challenging environment, and then really maintaining the need to have Saline as a destination district for so many special education parents. So they've just been doing an excellent job, and I wanted to point that out.
Thank you. I'd like to go, we'll start with Jennifer, then Darcy, then me, and anyone else? And Jason. Jennifer, Darcy, me, Jason.
Thank you for the presentation. It's good to see both of you again. I'm so proud of your department, and thank you for all of this. And to know that we have 895 friends that we're serving, that's an incredible number, and that's an important and very important responsibility. So thank you for all the care and attention. I had two questions. So on one slide you mentioned the SEAC, and on the next slide you mentioned parent and community engagement. And it made me think of a question that came up in our foundation meeting this morning, and I think it was Kara who was talking about our pulse survey, things like that. I was curious if you do anything like that with specifically the special education population to just identify areas for potential double downs on strengths, something that's going really well, or potential continuous improvement. That was my first question.
So we did not this year. My apologies, it just being the first year. I can't believe it's already May. But it is definitely something that we would like to engage in next year, is a survey.
Okay, perfect. Not that we like survey fatigue, because I know I'm a parent too.
But with
but it's important.
2,300 parents that are in our special education, world, that is one of the more effective ways to get some feedback. So, we'll have to time it well with the other surveys. But yeah, I really would like to do that.
Okay, perfect. And then with regards to the pie, the money pie that we saw earlier with the Fed at 9%, so on the low end, that's about $1.3 million if you go with the 15. In the changing landscape, I guess, around public education, do you have any commentary on how, if there have been any changes affecting that, or conversations around protecting those funds for our students in our district and other districts in public education? I guess, what's the latest, I guess is my question.
So, it's an ever-changing landscape right now, and I think about this a lot. And I think it's important to understand that in 1975, when IDEA was created, the federal government promised 40% of financing would come from the feds. We have never gotten over 20%, and currently, as you can see, we're at 9%. So yes, $1.2 to $1.3 million will have a significant impact on our budget. But I also think about all of the other sources of funding that we've been able to engage in at the state and local levels. I will say, and so I don't have an answer. I'm still kind of weeding through everything that comes, to us often. But one thing that I have committed myself to this summer is I am going to DC. There is a special ed legislative summit where we're going to actually be in front of Congress one day for 14 hours. The other days are like 10-hour days where we're actually meeting with Congress to talk about how these changes are impacting our young people.
I love that. Thank you.
Darcy?
Hi, thank you. A couple things. You talked about a boot camp. Is this going to be Saline specific, or is this the one that the WISD is putting on?
That's a great question. So there's both. What we are creating is a grow your own program for our paras to earn their registered behavior technicians certification. Para boot camp is also being offered by the ISD. That is not doesn't lead to a certification. It leads to really robust learning around how to best support students. So we have invited our paras to that. It's a wonderful program. I've participated as a trainer. I'm very hopeful that we will have a large turnout of Saline paras there.
Well, and hopefully in Arbor, because maybe I will be seeing you there.
Okay.
And then secondly, I just wanted to talk a little bit about compliance and how important that data collection is. As difficult and as time consuming as it is, that data drives the determination of services and allows us to reflect on what it is that our students need, where they're growing, and where there's room for opportunities. And so just I wanted to acknowledge that as someone who does that data collection, it's a lot of time and effort, but as my teacher says, if you didn't document it, it didn't happen. And so it's not the fun part of the job, but that I appreciate that you're working to improve that compliance part, because it is foundational to the work that and the services that we provide.
I do have a quick question before we get to Jason's then. It's about the Grow Your Own program. So yay, I've been participating in the Parapro to Special Ed Teacher program, which is fantastic. But this is interesting though. Is it in-house training? And
The first year, it will not be. We're going to be working with a company that provides online modules. Because this came up so quickly, our BCBAs, and we are hiring another one. They're very dedicated and have a big caseload. They didn't have time to develop the training. But the way the certification works is that our BCBAs who are certified, they can actually develop the training. So moving forward, starting next year, it'll be in-house training. And again, like I would even hope to be able to extend this to the other local districts if we can make that happen as summertime training and things like that. I mean, no one's doing this work yet, and it's so hard to find RBTs, and I'm just really grateful for the thought partners around this and being able to create this opportunity.
I know you have a much more noble view of it, but it could also be a revenue generator of sorts, but we won't talk about. And the funding for the test, I mean, it's probably the examination is probably pricey. Is that taken care of by us or by the participants? Great.
So it's actually pretty, the examination itself is $95. And the certification, the classes is less than $1,000 per para.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you
And
very
it's
much.
a 1-year cost because, well, they'll still have to sit for the exam, but that classroom cost will disappear next year.
Well, this time next year, I'm looking forward to hearing the results. Jason?
Actually, Secretary Brooke and President McVeigh asked my questions, and you actually extended your answer, so you actually, I was trying to think of something else, but President McVeigh did have a good point about revenue generator, because that could cover shortfalls in the budget if there are any, or provide additional budget. So my question is around, I learned RBT, that term today. So that was interesting. My question is, what is your biggest challenge right now with the amount of staff you have and the number of students we serve? What is your biggest challenge?
Finding time to work directly with the staff in a meaningful way to support new learning or, current need. Yeah.
Very good question, Jason. And I won't let your compliment go to my head. Thank you.
We should, you know what, Monica, with all of her wealth, I think you should answer that question too.
Sure. I think the other thing that is very challenging is some of the turnover of our staff, the training that's involved. Hiring, I just was talking about this earlier, was typically done in the summer. We do that all year round now. And, when you bring in to the organization in August, certain amount of staff, we continue to do that through the school year. So it's bringing them up to speed on the culture of the district, the training that they need, making sure that we provide all of that so that they have the tools they need to support the students. So,
Do you know what the cost differential is between onboarding versus retention of that kind of staff?
we do not have that information. That's certainly something that we could look into, but right off the top of my head, no, we don't have that.
That would just be interesting because, as you mentioned, you used to do it just in the summers. Now you're doing it year-round. You're having to constantly onboard, constantly train. There's non-tangible or intangible, sorry, wrong word, intangible costs associated to that. And I'm just wondering if there's something that we can do to help you so that you can retain the staff instead of the constant turnover, because you're then pulling more staff to train staff and you end up with holes. And if that's one of your biggest challenges, if there's something that we can do to help with that, I think we would like to explore that, because we have the best special ed programs around. We want to keep it that way, but we want to be a destination district, not just for the special needs education, but for the special needs educators.
Jason, the short answer to that is pay them more.
I know that, but
okay.
I was hoping there would be something a little bit more idealistic.
Sorry.
Mr. Gerby.
The only thing, so I want to thank you for the presentation, and I agree with our quality of our programs and all of that. So you talked about data and compliance, Darcy. And so in the past, as part of this presentation, we've received some of those data points. And one of the data points specifically that we've been asked to keep an eye on by parents and community members has been seclusion and restraint. Do you have any comments on that, and any, could we get data at least? Could we get some of those? I know we were told to keep it short and sweet, but that is that. So please, thank you.
Yes, we could absolutely get that data for you. I think overall, we meet once a month, and that's between the behavior, the BCBAs, Julie and myself. And then we failed to mention this, but we also have a consultant that's assigned to our district, and that's Liz Westfall. So we get together on a monthly basis to review those numbers. I think they've stayed pretty consistent. I think from the peak that we had a couple years ago, that certainly has gone down. But there are certainly, the numbers have stayed somewhat consistent. There are wraparound meetings that we do. As I said, we analyze that data. We work with teams to make sure that they have the supports in place that they need to address the issues. We revise plans for students, so we are keeping a pretty good pulse on that.
And I believe that. I just, if you wouldn't mind, like, it's good to just see that we have that compliance data we have to from the state. So it's just good stuff to see.
Yeah.
So.
I think that in addition to understanding like FBAs and positive behavior support plans, having a strong, clear plan that's based on science and best practice and interventions, and having RBTs that can, for our really complex kiddos who are the ones who are presenting with imminent danger that might lead to a short restraint or seclusion, having a strong plan and being able to collect the data and keep harvesting and disaggregating that data is how we ensure that our numbers continue to decline. Yep, no problem.
And thanks for bringing it up, Brad. Are there any more from the board? Well, thank you so much. It was both short and sweet and informative. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're moving on to one last presentation. Oh no, it's the horrible, boring one from McVeigh. Are you ready, sir? I think I can do this, unless we need a bio break, I think I can do this in 11 minutes and 32 seconds. Whenever I say something like that to my students, there's always one person in every class pulls out a stopwatch and says, okay, go. You're the one. You're the one. Thank you so much. This is an annual presentation. Next slide, please. We don't have a clicker, the functioning clicker yet. Sorry, we have Ben. So good evening. This is, please note that this presentation and subsequent board vote is a legal requirement. The WISD shared this presentation focusing on two funding streams, the general fund and the special education fund, which is 4 times larger, as you'll see later. We are required to review the general fund budget. Next slide, please. So we, as a board, are required to review this budget and then vote to support or disapprove of it. And if there are any issues you would like the WISD board to be aware of, they will review our notes and take them into account. Next slide, please. So there we go. So the next slide, please. Thank you. I think the next slide. We're just roaring along. So the WISD is also known as a RESA, Regional Educational Service Agency, and it provides, and this is mostly for the newcomers here tonight, it provides an economy of scale for purchasing and other projects. So next slide. So rather than simply transfer federal and state funds to the districts, the WISD is a convener of general education services that include a lot of activities, including technology, instruction, community and school partnerships, career technical education, and a lot more. Next slide, please. Some of the county achievement initiatives are listed here, and one of the big things they're responsible for is learning networks, and we'll go to the next slide. There are several projects that the WISD engages in. Some of these projects include, and I'm not even sure we're on the right slide, but supporting justice leaders who work on inclusive systems, the 1080 grant, which is an engineering project. Could you go to the next slide? I think it's the next one. Maybe not. We'll just keep going. 1080 grant, which is an engineering project, the youth council, and responsive teaching and leadership training. The community school partnership team works with a lot of community partners to support kids who struggle the most in school. There we go. We're getting caught up now. When school level support is not enough, this team gets involved collaboratively. So this work includes work with homeless youth, jails, and more. Next slide. So the partnership group works with a lot of external grant agencies also, from McKinney-Vento to the Michigan State Police. One more slide or two. One more, next one. We're also engaged with the My Future Fund, the child savings account, which before you all came on board, they gave a great presentation to us. So next slide. So using the economy, we'll stay there for a while. Using the economies of scale, there's a lot of volume purchasing that takes place through the WISD, including Power School, which is licenses for Power School, among other things. So the general fund and the special education fund are shared here in this slide, side by side. The magenta is a revenue of 162 million, and expenditures are in blue at about 160 million. It leaves a fund balance of about 7 million overall. That's about 17%. So, next slide. So the expenditures are shown here, where that money goes. And you'd heard from our special education staff just a few minutes ago about expenditures, transfers to us. That is the, I have the colors. You can, for some reason, yeah, the large blue on the left piece of the pie is the direct transfers to the districts. The other slides are, the other pieces are earmarked for special grants and so forth, but that's the breakdown in general of all the monies. But what we are going to look at is, pardon me, for some reason I'm trying to follow along on my own notes. Well, thank goodness I have a paper copy. So 40.5% is directly transferred to the districts, such as the special ed dollars. The light blue at the bottom represents special projects on our behalf. The dark blue represents direct special education services, such as High Point and other services. And the three blue sections make up 92%. So we're going to scoot ahead past the special education and look instead now at the general fund expenditures, which we are required to review. If you take a look at the, could you go ahead, please? There we go. Looking at the general revenue sources. The yellow is local, which is about 2.2 million from taxes. The rest comes from investment earnings and other revenue generating activities like fingerprinting, of all things. The green is My Future Fund money that's come in. The purple includes money from the State Aid Act and pays for technology and achievement initiatives. The red includes state restricted grants. That's 7.7 million from the Great Start Readiness Program, among others. Mental health funding has also increased, and we now have more CTE monies in the district, in the county. The gray is primarily Head Start money and some Grow Your Own funds like Perkins, McKinney-Vento, Title I, regional assistance grants. The teal is other special technology projects. So next slide. Changes to the revenue. There have been a lot of changes. We've had a net increase of 4.5%. You'll read through here. Operations funding from the state is up 2%. There are certain other elements that we've talked about, the MIPSers, 147A3 and 147A4 retirement offsets from OPEB and all that fun stuff. There have been increases in revenue. Could you go to the next slide? Also, there have been changes in expenditure. There's no grant revenue carryover. The unaccrued liabilities is, I think, stabilized according to this slide. They have increased one full-time equivalent of chronic absence specialists. They used to be called truancy officers. And there's a half full-time equivalent of a data position. Next slide, and I think we're almost done. We're up to 9 minutes now, right? Okay, this assumes that all vacancies are filled and assumes step increases and assumes 3% salary wage increase for non-bargaining staff and a healthcare increase at, yikes, 9%. Next slide. And those are the major changes. If you take a look here, the 7.46 It's projected, and the 7.02, these are millions of dollars. Those are a little high right now. They will stabilize back down to around the 5% range or the 5 million range. There was an odd spike, of course, in 2024 from some federal monies and changes in legislation. Please don't ask me which ones. And next slide, please. Right, this is just a quick slide that shows you the distribution of their general fund expenditures. And a nice picture of the kids, who it's all really for. So I know I roared through this, and you all had a chance to look at this in your board pack. And I'm really seriously hoping you don't have any questions, but each of the slides I was given have notes attached. So if you do have a question, please ask it now or forever hold your peace.
Sorry, Michael. I do have a couple questions.
Easy ones, right? Also, the best questions are just questions. Thank you.
On the general fund revenue slide, a few back.
Which is one back, or so, or two back.
Keep going. That one.
Yes, ma'am.
You kind of blew through the non-educational entity, 3.144.
Did I? That would be from investment earnings and other revenue-generating activities such as fingerprinting, right?
Okay.
Oh,
I wasn't sure.
That's what it was, and yeah, they do generate revenue at the WISD. I'm going to read their notes to see if there's additional things. There are a lot of programs: Community Foundation Resources for Success by Six, Washtenaw, My Brother's Keeper, Educational Adjudicated Youth in County Jail. Those monies do come to the WISD.
Is My Brother's Keeper the Obama Foundation?
Washtenaw, My Brother's
So
Keeper. I don't know much about
yeah,
that
I think it
particular
is.
organization.
Okay.
We're
and
not
then-
sure over here.
Pretty sure, but
Well, we'll check it out.
maybe. Well, thank you to those organizations. And then I also wondered about the truancy officer / I don't know, the
What do
new,
we call it?
the new
Chronic absence
prep-
specialist.
Yes. Does that person only help with, like, could we have our own person, or that person helps with absences only from students? I just wanted to understand how the overlap happens.
Oh, some of the students that, from my understanding, some of the students that would fall in under that person's oversight may be some of ours. I think we do a lot of ours in-house because we have no? Steve?
I can speak to that a little bit. We try to deal with attendance issues and such, and compliance with our own internal processes first, but sometimes we do need to call on outside agencies, and they have truancy officers that you can get through Washtenaw County. This is one that the ISD also employ. We've used, contact Pittsfield and get a truancy officer out to help with certain instances. This is more for I would say districts that have more chronic issues with this, like somebody going out to homes to try to figure out why kids aren't coming to school and such.
So
more targeted.
Not per se only for students who are housed within the WISD buildings.
I think it might be primarily, but it
okay.
is a labor-intensive activity, as you can imagine.
Yeah, no, I was just curious because it's something that I'm always surprised at in other districts and other facets of my life. So I just wondered if that person who's just being brought on as a FDA is available to all the districts if they have trouble, or just for the students housed at.
I am happy to ask Superintendent Naomi Norman that when I write to her again. And this morning, in fact, we were texting rapidly. I'm sure I could shoot off a text to her. I think she owes me one, so I'll ask her. Are there any other questions? If anyone, I'm looking at you, Tim, because you're the only one in 7 years who's raised a note yet. If anyone has any issues or notes that to provide to Brian Marcel and the WISD board, send it to me by email or share it now, and we'll make sure that it gets to them. But that shouldn't affect whether you approve or disapprove, or support or disapprove of this. So I'd like to entertain a motion, please, to either, let us say, support the WISD 25-26 budget resolution as submitted. and shared by McVeigh.
So moved.
Tim Austin, thank you, sir.
Support.
Is that Lauren Gold?
Correct.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Great, thank you so much, 7-0 aye. We will make sure that they are made aware of the fact that there's actually a document that goes up to Naomi Norman and company. 12 minutes, well, that's, there were questions. Well, I was expecting questions, thank you. I'd like to pass this over to Finance Committee Treasurer Brad Gerby.
All right. I'll try to be short and sweet as well. So Finance met today, 5 o'clock. We had 5 items on the agenda. Here are so here's a quick summary of what we accomplished. First thing we did was we talked about the official spring FTE count, which is only 10% of our blended total. But we did see an interesting trend. So our fall count was 4688, and our spring FTE count is 4686. So you'll see an adjustment of 2 students. Now, the reason why that's particularly interesting is because we have generally, the last few years, seen a more significant drop between our fall enrollment to our spring enrollment. For example, and we looked back, in fall of 23, we were 4762. And in spring of 24, we were 4731. So we had dropped 31 students. So obviously, anytime that we are not losing students and that we are having so we're hoping maybe we're looking at a leveling out, but there are cohorts and things of that nature. So it's very much something to just kind of keep an eye on, okay? But student count is one of the main ways that we generate revenue. And so we always keep an eye on our student count. So kindergarten, in fact, just to kind of continue on that, is trending really positively and really solid in the regard, especially with regards to we look like we will need an additional section over this year at Woodland Meadows. So that's a positive thing to see overall, okay? I should note that we saw an odd drop last year at that building. So I mean, it could just be where people live and how many kids go to that particular place, but it's overall a positive thing to see that we're having a leveling of enrollment. So that is that. State budget, the state budget is being bantered about right now. We can only hope that by June 30th that the state of Michigan provides us with the amount of clarity with regards to the budget that we're expected to have, right? Speaking of which, you guys should note it is going to be budget hearing time on June the 10th. That has to be by state law a separate meeting. So that will be at 6 p.m. And then during that night, we will also make our budget presentations and things of that nature. So the budget hearing will happen at 6 p.m. as it always does prior to the 6:30 board meeting. So again, that is on June the 10th. We're anticipating an increase I think that's been a pretty stable thing, whether you're on one side of the aisle or the other in the governor's chair, but it's just figuring out all the devil's in the details with regards to, are they going to continue to pay for food allowances? Are they going to continue to pay for transportation? The House passed something that was called an emergency stopgap budget, but then they said but this isn't necessarily it. We're just putting something in place later so we can change it later on. So again, it's all very much in flux. As we finish up 2025, one of the things that our strong fund balance is doing for us and I would consider this quote unquote revenue generation, is we will not have to borrow to make summer payroll. So we will realize some of those dollars that we would have otherwise had to borrow for. So there's that, and that's a good thing. For 25-26, we kind of opened up the discussion of some of those kinds of things. We already talked about the per pupil and the state, but we are going to add an FTE. It looks like at the elementary. It looks like we're going to add FTE 1.0 at an art. It's going to be a half middle school, half high school, but that kind of ties into what's already there and making it whole is what I kind of heard. So there's that. You heard just now in that last presentation about some occupational therapy that is going to come under the umbrella of the district. That'll be good for access for students in services for our students here in Saline. So there's the behavior analyst piece. You heard about the behavior tech program. These are some really, really talented individuals. A lot of them are parapros, so now I would call them, like, I made a joke, but I really believe this, they are now super parapros, right? So, as RBTs, so that is that, okay? One thing that made my heart really happy is we had put on our homework, and Jennifer, I think you watched this meeting remotely when I brought to the team about this thing called Michigan Class. And what it was it was a way to take some of your revenues that you have as a district or some of your money as a district and invest it in secure means to realize what I wanted to say in my meeting and didn't, is passive income. And so one of the things that we're doing is we're joining something called MyLAF. It's called the Michigan Liquid Asset Fund. And we're going to take some of our fund balance dollars and we're going to put it into MyLAF. I appreciate Assistant Superintendent Owsley. She's ahead of schedule on this. We had said that this would be more of a fall project, but she said that she brought that to her team, and her team said, yes, we can make this happen. So, so that'll be a revenue generator for us with our money that we already have. So it's just good stewardship, I think. So I already mentioned the budget meeting, and then the last thing that I also want to note is the incredibly awesome process that Miranda Owsley and her team did with regards to bond sales. One of the great things is because we had such strong interest in our bond sales this past week, we were actually, and I'm glad they do this and not me, we were able to reduce the rate down to, like, I think it was 4.72%. And long story short, less interest is more money that we get to actually spend on projects and in classrooms and that kind of thing. So I really appreciate her diligence, her team's diligence, and all of that. So next meeting of the finance team will happen 5 p.m. on the 10th. And like I said, budget hearing at 6 p.m. And you should expect that to be a money-heavy night. If anybody has any thoughts?
I do, Brad. We've had the consensus revenue generating or the that's already happened, correct?
Nope, it's happening. Sorry, it's on my list, and it is happening actually the 16th. So it is 3 days from now if you want to tune in as a constituent.
I should have a Google alert on that consensus revenue estimating conference. I look forward to that every year.
The 16th then is your day. I'm glad I could make you laugh.
Any other questions for our Treasurer Gerby? No. Administration board updates, Mr. Superintendent Lodge.
Right, we had spoken about the transition with Dr. Kowalski. We are very excited about that. I know I speak for the core team, and that we are working on transition dates, and we already have a number of them established. And so, right, I'm not really. I'm hoping the contract can get resolved soon, but we're moving forward with the assumption that it will be, and feeling like the transition does need to start earlier, because there's a number of events that we want the new superintendent to be able to experience before the end of the year. And so we already have some dates set up: May 21st, June 2nd, June 13th, June 16th. And we're looking forward to working with her to get her in the district and get her acclimated to a number of things that are going on, both at this level and at the county level, before I retire. So.
Let's start with Tim.
So not a whole lot of updates outside of, I just wanted to, I wrote down, thank the whole team here at this board table for the amount of work that went into the last 3-4 weeks. All the work that went into that. So I appreciate that. It wasn't an easy decision. We had a lot of good candidates, and but I think we made a good choice.
I think we've been in this room every Tuesday for the okay.
Yeah, I wrote down the same thing, so ditto on, and I want to thank everyone from the community who was involved with that too, right? Anytime that we see that community engagement. It just helps us to feel more secure about the decisions and all of that kind of stuff, right? It just helps me. But anyway, so there's that. And I know that Dr. Rachel Kowalski's going to do a fantastic job as our superintendent. So the one thing I would like to, since my kid endured his second AP test today, and AP Calc was today, so gosh. I want to thank everybody who puts up with the stress and does all the things to help our students to be so successful in those kinds of endeavors. They're hard to do. They take a lot of preparation. AP classes require teachers to undergo specialized training and do certain labs, and it's all regulated by the College Board. So it is not a particularly easy thing to do to be an AP teacher. And so I want to thank our AP teachers, but every other teacher too who's dealing with students in May when it's 80 degrees too. So thank you very much and appreciate you.
Always echoing what excellent trustees have to say, all of us. I just wanted to sort of reflect on the meeting tonight and overall looking at the services that this district provides, which I think are very excellent. Unfortunately, funding for education is a pie, and there's that balance between providing the physical materials students need and the people who implement, use, and adapt those materials for our students to learn, grow, and as the special education department noted, be successful. And a large part of that budget, as we saw, was for staff, and I think that that's something to be proud of, that we are putting our money towards people who care and show up to help our students become their best selves. And, you know, while we need the funding for things like iPads or Chromebooks and books, it's really the people who are using those tools. And I think that overall in our district, for all departments, teachers, parapros, bus drivers, cafeteria staff, janitorial staff, everyone who is involved, superintendents, admin team, I think everyone is here really with the best of intentions, and I just really appreciate that.
Speaking of that, Darcy and I both attended the STEM Awards, right? Which is pretty cool to see our young people from the earliest grades standing up and receiving awards and recognitions was fantastic. And I know several of us attended the art show, and every year I am absolutely blown away at the quality and the level. And I know some of the art teachers have responded to my raving about it through Facebook, and it's well-deserved praise. They did a fantastic job. Thank you. I'm going to pass it on to Jennifer.
So today was our monthly meeting of the Foundation for Saline Area Schools. You probably all noticed some invitations coming. I thought instead of just saying them at the table, I would proactively go into the calendar and put some things on your schedules. Totally optional, but there you have a few things. And I know we try to do a calendar as well, but you can find those. Thank you to the foundation, $87,000 so far in grants, building and staff grants this year. That's pretty amazing. Roughly just over 12K left. And I know that they were talking about one grant today, so they're still doing that important work, even in the home stretch. Speaking of home stretch, thank you, students, staff, and families, because I know that this time of year is incredibly, incredibly busy, and there's a lot to do. We also talked about the Young 5 and kindergarten open houses, which is very exciting. If you want to go to the Ridge tomorrow from 6 to 7, Harvest is next week on the 21st, Heritage is on the 22nd. Woodland Meadows already did theirs. So they've been working to be involved in that. And I also liked the brainstorming conversation that we had today around more ideas to engage the community multi-generationally. And also with new families entering the school district to make sure that they feel included and aware of what opportunities might exist to make new friends for both the parents and grandparents and family members, but the kids obviously as well. So that was a fun discussion. I'm going to put one more vote in for thinking about that. ice cream social, and it came up today, and we were talking about it. And I did want to point out that we do have a Spelling Bee award right behind Steve and Michael that we did win in 2022, which I put fingernail polish on with here. So a major award if we happen to have another one, if we can do a Spelling Bee again. I know a few people who might be interested. And I also really enjoyed the conversation about how we might show off the new spaces at Saline High School to the community. So not just to our high schoolers and our high school families, but to all other children, particularly the little, so they can see what they're going towards. I really liked that conversation, understanding what incredible opportunities that we have in this district. As you go along, it just continues to snowball, and what that looks like when you get to the high school, it kind of can blow some people away. So I'm looking forward to helping volunteer on that, and really liked that Kara and Jackie were a big part of that conversation and trying to figure out what that looks like from both the district perspective, but also partnering with the Foundation for Saline Area Schools. So that I thought that was cool. I'm in the middle of teaching junior achievement right now, so I want to say hello to, I believe it's 46 students that I have right now in 2 different classrooms. I like to team teach because apparently I'm a little bit of an extrovert, and they are so much fun. We did the pizza exercise. I don't know if you're teaching it this year, Steve, but same curriculum as I think we've had for 1 or maybe 2 years. They changed a few years ago. No more donuts. That's not healthy. I don't know if pizza is healthy, but it's paper pizza. So I'm getting ready to do the last 2 sessions with them, and we're going to talk about voting, about making your voice heard and what it means to be a member of a community and use that voice for things that you believe in. So I really like that one. So hello to those kids.
Hi, everyone. I'd like to start by acknowledging that we just finished up Nurse Appreciation Day and Week, as well as Teacher Appreciation Day and Week and Mother's Day. I always laugh a little that these all 3 fall in May in thinking about which professions were most open traditionally to women. Take from that what you will, as to the heavy lift in May. But I think all 3 of those are really important to highlight. I have just grown over the years in my appreciation for nurses, and especially now in my role on the school board. Our school nurses who do such an excellent job, our teachers who and educators who do such amazing work in the classrooms, and mothers both at home but also in our schools. At any given time when you are in classrooms for class parties or fun runs or all the things, there are all parents, but often quite a few moms helping keep things run as volunteers and in supporting the schools. So for everybody who does that, I'll get to the dads next month and all parents, but thank you for people who provide mothering skills in the classroom. May is Food Allergy Awareness Month. It's really appreciated and crucial that we focus on safety and support for our students with food allergies. And I know that this has changed and continues to change all the time, and some people listening may wonder why. It's estimated that about 1 in 13 children, or about 2 in every classroom, have serious food allergies. So this is not talking about sensitivities or other things. These are kids who have allergies to food that could be life-threatening. Yes, this is more than it was in the past. Yes, we are working on figuring it out. And yes, we need your help in being understanding and supportive. On that note, I want to thank teachers and school staff for all the hard work in keeping our school allergy aware and safe. I know that you're on the front lines and sometimes field complaints. And so thank you for doing that important work. And thank you to fellow students for being understanding and considerate of your classmates. Unfortunately, there have been some shocking studies in recent years that indicate that as many as 1 in 3 children with food allergies report being bullied because of their allergies. So this can go from teasing to life-threatening, like switching out foods, forced exposures, people thinking that it is funny. This is unacceptable, obviously, and risky, but parents, teachers, community members can model the right behavior by always taking food allergies seriously, never diminishing or making fun of people with food allergies or the inconveniences that we might go through when we have to worry about food allergies. It is much appreciated. So again, thank you. If I can ever be of any support in this way to the district, or if people have questions or teachers have questions, or I can support our awesome, already doing a great job staff, I'm more than happy to always speak on this topic.
Unfortunately, Julie and Monica already left, but next week is Speech Pathologist Day. What? I'm sorry? Oh, I'm sorry. I looked over there once and you weren't there. I'm sorry. Okay. Well, hey, next week, Speech Pathologist Day. So, that's a barn burn. That's a fun one. So, but no, that's our staff in special ed don't get enough recognition, and that's a great thing to be able to recognize. Also, I want to give a huge shout out to our CAD team, our CAD competitors. That was phenomenal how successful they are. That is just unbelievable. And I want to say once again, from sitting through the Shark Tank things, and this, I love to see the ladies up there really just jamming. I'll say it again, this is probably the third time I've said it from the board table, but anybody that says that women are not interested in STEAM, girls are not interested in STEAM, are just wrong. And Saline absolutely proves them wrong, because we have absolutely the best ladies out there competing and taking home all the trophies. So I just want to give them a big shout out.
Appreciate that. I brought one of the biggest names in educational technology, Richard Collada, into Steve Veslov's class a year or two ago. They were clueless. They had no idea, because they were so focused on what they were working on their drawings and so forth. It's amazing. I'd like to entertain a motion to authorize the consent agenda as printed. This is your chance.
So moved, Stebbin.
Yeah.
Can't pass it up.
Sure you could. Support from
Berwick.
Wow. We should just assign people. Anyway, thank you so much. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none. 7-0. Thank you. Items on the next agenda, sir?
Well, speaking of CAD and the SWWC direction, we have the SWWC annual update coming from Kara Stummer, and then also CTE millage resolution. So those are all tied together. And then recognition of our Board of Ed student reps and honoring the district retirees.
And you may have noticed that they're not here. Each of them had a separate issue preventing them to be here, and they both apologize for their lack of attendance. So open to public comment. I don't believe there is any. No. So the next Board of Education meeting will be held on May 27th at 6:30. I'd like to entertain a motion to enter into closed session of the board after a bio break, so at about 9:15 or so, with the intent to reopen at about 9:30? 9:30.
So moved.
Was that Tim?
Second, Tizides.
Thank you very much. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you so much. I should have filled out the rest of that. To enter into a closed session for the purpose of collective bargaining, 8C of the Open Meetings Act. Under 8C, a simple majority is sufficient. And all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Great, thank you. Thank you very much. We'll see you in some period of time.
5 minutes.
Making me do arithmetic here. It looks like 7 minutes. Without objection, I'd like to re-enter the Board of Education meeting at 10:17, and a motion to adjourn this regular meeting at 10:17, please.
So moved.
Tizitis,
Support, Stebbin.
Stebbin, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you very much. Good night, everybody. Thank you.